line weighing up to 100 tons, most of which are finished and polished so well that they are still reflecting light after millennia in the dust, all housed in sunken alcoves like the engines and generators of some vast underground machine. My name is Ben, and you're watching my Gyges. Over the preceding 4 chapters of this video series, the links are below if you haven't seen them, we've examined some of the evidence that a form of ancient high technology must have been used in several aspects of these boxes' creation. Technology that cannot be attributed to the dynastic Egyptians, nor achieved by the tools that exist in the archaeological record. From the unrelenting precision and flatness of the interiors of these boxes, to the mirror-like finishing polish of the outsides, to the challenge of quarrying, shipping, and moving such massive objects into these locations, the orthodox explanation that this was all done by a primitive ancient civilization with nothing more than hand tools and human power reveals itself as simply logically unsupportable. Therefore, a new theory is needed. The dynastic Egyptians undoubtedly occupied this site and left their mark on it. They utilised it as part of their great civilization. Yet, if they didn't create this place or its objects, what can we conclude? They must have inherited it from some distant and perhaps unknown ancestor.
Yo, what's up, Journey? How's it going?
Modern Egypt has inherited the site today, even lost in the sands as it was for millennia.
What's up? What's up, Journey? How are you? Hope you're good. Yeah, we're going to Bon Echo. Should be pretty sweet. Oh, here we go.
We'll investigate some of the contradictions that are evident in this area. We'll take a look at some of the evidence for renovations that were carried out by the dynastic Egyptians when they occupied it, and try to draw some conclusions as to the true origins and purpose of the enigma known to us today as the Serapeum Massacre. Some of the most clear evidence that the Serapeum was inherited and not built by the dynastic Egyptians during the Middle Kingdom, as it is claimed, comes from the site itself. At its base,
How's you? I'm good, yo. I'm good, Journey. I'm good. Thank you. How are you? Hope you're good.
straight as an arrow, the longest passage to be more than 150 meters in length, high ceilings,
Yeah, I'm going to have to turn it down a little bit, I think.
with several similar dimensional side rooms next to the main gallery. Its mighty polished granite boxes are all housed in a number of offset, sunken alcoves that are both taller and deeper than the passageways themselves. The precision that is evident in the levelling and direction of these tunnels that run through the limestone bedrock that underpins the desert sands in the Sahara region is in and of itself an example of ancient technology. This is no simple nor easy achievement. Considering the precision of the work draws the mind towards other, somewhat similar and also extremely precise bedrock tunneling examples that, allegedly at least, come to us from the very earliest periods of the dynastic Egyptians. Works like the descending passageway to the subterranean chamber, the Great Pyramid. Now, while there is still much debate on the origin and purpose of this passageway, one cannot debate the utter precision that is evident in its construction, and marvel that people of any technological level managed to construct this at all. And it's not an uncommon thing when it comes to the so-called old English structures in sites like Mazinaw Rock. These places are literally riddled with precision carved underground passageways and interconnected series of tunnels, shafts.
Feeling pretty good. Just watching Big Mama's House too. Martin Lawrence. That's jokes.
The requirement for massive coffers, boxes, and the use of precision leaves me with the distinct impression that there must have been a functional purpose to all this work. The tunnel system of the Serapeum also seems to extend further than is shown either on maps or when you go there in person.
This here is a possible extension for the Serapeum, like the one we found in the behind the book. If you can look, it's not small.
At the end of the main gallery, there is a small passageway that extends as far back as the light map that was just shown.
No. Those are roots.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So it's not modern. This is probably an extension. What kind of extension? What is the function? Maybe they had the Apis rats. This is the tomb of the rats. Why do you set it up like this? What is the use of? Where are the studies? How come they don't bring a robot here?
Oh man.
So,
Thanks for being here, Journey. You're the best. You rule.
doesn't have this kind of equipment like with wires, cameras, and lights and stuff like that. Yeah.
There were many of these types of doors and false ends to the Serapeum when Augustin Ariadne discovered the place in the 1800s. In fact, all of the alcoves that contained boxes were themselves walled off in the weekend. The walls had to be destroyed in order to find boxes behind them. The entire closed-off section that sits near the entrance that houses a very large black box, my favourite piece on the whole site, as well as several other very big alcoves. That whole section wasn't discovered at all until relatively recently.
For a long time they thought that the Serapeum ends here, and then one of the professors discovered that it's true.
Yusuf contends that there could well be multiple levels to this site, and as large and impressive as the Serapeum is, we might have only covered a small portion of what truly lies beneath.
I'm lurking. That's cool. That's cool.
Given
You're
the
lurking,
scope
I'm
of the
working.
site itself and what surrounds it in Saqqara, with its deep shafts and miles of tunnels under the step pyramid, this conclusion seems entirely possible. It's very strange to me that these obvious extensions have not been thoroughly explored, and nor does there really seem to be any interest in doing so by those that are in charge of the site itself. Would this type of exploration not be a perfect target for something like a university robotics competition or the like? Imagine the exposure millions of people would be interested in, and it seems like it could pay for itself just through the publicity and memory. Personally, I will never know why these obvious avenues of investigation that can utilise the technology of our times are not actively pursued, either here in the Serapeum or, say, for example, inside the Great Pyramid, or down into the shafts and cavities under the Sphinx, or perhaps into the water and tunnels of the Assyrian, or down into the Osiris shaft. The list could go on for the application of this. Doing this type of thing seems like an easy home run to me, but I suppose it might be less attractive if you were, let's say, less open-minded about what might be found, or perhaps how what might be found could affect your precious story of history that must be so viciously protected at all costs. There is clear evidence of renovation work that took place in the Serapeum during ancient times. Do you renovate a building at the same time that you build it? It doesn't make any sense at all. Renovation is what we humans do when we inherit places like this. Just look at the evidence for modern renovation, the stabilising steel girders in the alcoves, the addition of electricity to the site, and the wooden flooring that's been put in. The ancient Egyptians were no different at all. They also left their mark on this place. Many areas of the site were plastered over during the rest of Egypt, and limestone tiles have been added. Or in some cases, it's just a pattern of tiles that's been etched into the plaster. That's outlined by Egypt.
Most of the tiles that they use the plaster to stick in the ceiling thin. What you see here is not a tile, it's the little plaster. Yeah. This is the plaster. See that? It's not the stone. The principle is stone in the plaster, and then we use it to stick. The work that working inside here, this is the revolution. See? The order revolution. We used to fill with plaster and then stick more of the limestone. And this fine type of limestone is actually deeper than how it is. Because you had it sink and somebody small parts like this, that lighting, that house, steel and another material.
So, not the ceiling nor the tunnel walls are constructed of masonry. They are all carved directly from the bedrock. This highlights one of the major challenges the original builders faced when conceiving the Serapeum, and one which still boggles my tiny brain to this day, which is how do we move these stone behemoths down into the tunnels? How do we lower them into the very centre of their recessed alcoves? The largest boxes, like this rose granite box you can see, have a width that is less than 1 foot of the width of the tunnel itself.
The width, that box is only 1 feet smaller than the width of the tunnel. 1 foot, 1 foot smaller than the width of the tunnel. So imagine turning with it.
Marriott actually blew the lid off it with dynamite because we're such curious monkeys. We even have a box that seems to have been left in transit in one of the tunnels that was abandoned there for one reason or another. This is actually a remarkable opportunity to look for evidence of how the boxes were transported. One of the most common explanations from the Egyptologists is that blocks of stone, like this one, were moved around on wooden sleds. This seems almost plausible for a smaller box, perhaps a ton or two, but it's increasingly less plausible as the mass increases. What's more, do you think that there is any evidence whatsoever for sleds or the like being found under this block? There is simply no evidence, no trace whatsoever of a sled or anything of its type being found, and this theory is logically inconsistent with the stark reality of the place that the box is present.
How many people we are talking about the range of these boxes, not this, but let's say in the range of 50,000 kilograms. So let's say strong, ancient, literally really strong, each person will have 200 people. That's all. It's also to be functional. So that means 5 for each. 5 times 50. 250 really good. But in the tunnel, you're not going to believe it. If you put 50 people here, it's going to be but especially in the rooms. Let's go from the other side of the stuff.
It seems clear to me that a form of high technology was required to move these boxes through the tunnel system. I do not believe that the dynastic Egyptians possessed this technology. I think that they inherited its site and boxes millennia after the boxes were placed in the outback, and it is exactly there that they have rested ever since, at least the largest box. We can't do it, and the ancient Egyptians couldn't do it either. And it is here that we find the very best evidence that this site was renovated in ancient times. If you look closely at the floor around the boxes, you'll find that limestone floor tiles have been added, built specifically to fit around the boxes themselves.
Pardon me.
In some areas of the site, box tiles have been exposed, and what you find is that
That was actually kind of close.
I think we can all see that the writing is clearly of an inferior quality to that of Gyges. The dating aside, what is obvious from the writing is that it is done with tools, with hand tools. The writing is explainable by the tools that we see
Yo, what's up, Dick? Thanks, buddy. Yo, let me show you a video. Let me show you a new video that that Ilu just posted.
Come on.
220 pounds.
Easy. Come on. Fucking easy, man. Easy. Easy. Come on. Come on. Easy. Come on. Fucking easy, man. Easy. Easy.
Is that Fedor? Oh, this is a different Fedor. Emelianenko.
Come on. Come on. Easy. Come on. Fucking easy, man. Easy. Easy.
This video sucks though. It's pretty good, but it's like almost as the big at the big one. Oh, yo, I know, man. I know, buddy. Who are you talking about? Me? Me at the big 100? Yeah, I'm at 205. I'm 15 pounds away. Or you mean workout streams? Maybe both. 100 kilos, yeah. My last bench press set, I really needed to dig into to complete it. 18 more to go, yo. Thanks, man. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, man. Thanks, man. I appreciate that, buddy. Big time. Oh, here we go. Let's do a set for Dick. Hopefully we can do it.
I've certainly heard many theories to this end, yet none of them bring any conclusive evidence to back them up. Maybe the site was energetic in some form, drawing energy from the Earth through ley lines to lower currents. Maybe it was vibration connected to the harmonics of the planet. Maybe the entire site functioned underwater. Maybe it had to do with the specific harmonics or the chemical makeup of the boxes themselves.
Here we go.
Maybe the answer lies
When are we building the pyramid? Yo, I know, man. I know, buddy. Yes. Yeah, buddy. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do in the middle? I think we should put an N64 in the middle of the sarcophagus. We need to put an N64 in there, and we need to make like the elite rankings. You know, like the Rosetta Stone. We need to make like the elite rankings of like the Rosetta Stone in granite. You know what I mean? I'm not even like memeing. Elite and non-elite. Whoever plays GoldenEye. The rankings. I was looking at the Aztec level, and it's like a megalith complex, man. I'm telling you, in the game, It's like these huge like stone megaliths. When we place the final stone on top, we shall play record Eric. Yeah, man. We need the material first, right? Where are we gonna get the material from like Northern Ontario? Maybe. Oh man, I love lifting weights, man. I love it. I feel so good. I feel so good. Do they have Home Depot in Anatolia? Where's Anatolia? Dick, buddy, sounds like you know a thing or two about friggin' making pyramids. Anatolia, what's Anatolia? Anatolia. What's Anatolia? Modern Turkey. Yeah, buddy, where are we gonna do it? Where are we gonna build it, man? Yo, build it somewhere that will confuse historians. Yeah.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects. Please subscribe now to get the latest ancient history news and independent research around the world. People have mixed views on just how better off we are with social media, but in the study of ancient history, for sharing knowledge and ideas, for discovering new information, well, it can truly be a great thing.
Is there land under Antarctica or is it all just ice? I think there's land.
From professors of archaeology.
Yeah, man, I want to become like an archaeologist, like a archaeogeologist. You know what I mean? That's what I want to do. I want to do lidar. I want to lidar, light imaging radar, the Amazon, and I want to. Yo, they have these underwater drones now. You can get underwater drone. Depth goes 330 feet. It's like $1,500. Deepest land on Earth. Beneath Antarctica's ice. That's what it looks like, my man. Yes, there is land. We gotta build it where there's like no glaciers and like no glaciation will happen, you know? Yo, I'm so happy you're in on this. I was gonna like make a pitch. I was still deciding what would be the convincing factor. And I was thinking like the N64 and like We should do it for the meme too. The meme would be hilarious, and that's how we would get unity. Is we would get leaders being able to build it. You know what I mean? We need like a common cause for it to get accomplished. Even if the meme is the means. Alright.
Gyges armchair enthusiasts, and on the back of my last video,
Thanks for being here, man.
origins of the Peruvian stone walls, I received a fantastic tweet from a user called Rambo Llama who sent me a link to a YouTube video. This particular video was historical and educational and focused on the complicated history of the early people of New Zealand, their cultural heritage and ethnic origins. The video is long, detailed and fascinating, and I've linked it below in the description. It documents a local Maori legend recorded more than 100 years ago by ethnologist Elston Best. He was living amongst a local tribe known for having fair hair, some with red hair and some with blonde, and Best was told that their ancient ancestors originated in Persia and Indus Valley region, but because of war with the so-called darker-skinned people, they fled their homeland by boat. The legend continues that their ancestors sailed to a long skinny land believed to be Central America and then on to a land called Tahiti Nui, which is believed to be the very large land of South America, ending up in Peru. DNA studies of the blonde-haired indigenous people of New Zealand, descendants of the Nagati Hutu tribe, have made it show both Persian and Peruvian DNA, so maybe there is some truth in the legend. From Peru, the legend says that their ancestors ventured into the scattered islands of the Pacific, with one of the destinations being Easter Island, but with some ending up as far as New Zealand. Now, the reason this video is a follow-up to the one I made on the Peruvian stone walls is all because of historical timelines. In my last video, I explained how pottery and radiocarbon dates from beneath the large limestone fortress of Sacsayhuaman placed its construction at around 1100 AD by a culture that researchers have called the Kilpay. It was American archaeologist John Howland Rowe who named the Kilpay culture based on a specific type of pottery that is found in the Cusco region before and into the early days of the Inca. I said how I think it looks like the Kilpay culture didn't just build the incredible interconnecting walls of Sacsayhuaman, but all of the other examples in the Cusco Valley, including Ollantaytambo and the city of Cusco itself. Again, this is because the Kilpay pottery, a very distinct style, is found at the foundation level of Cusco City, Sacsayhuaman, and also in just about all of the major suburbs of Cusco. The limestone of Sacsayhuaman also doesn't look weathered enough to be incredibly ancient as some believe. The Kilpay culture is quite a mystery and may well be the result of the coming together of a number of tribes in the Cusco Valley, as well as the remnants of the warrior culture, a major power and empire that crumbled between 1000 and 1100 AD. Kilpay pottery in style is also very similar to the warrior culture. So, how did the Kilpay culture relate to the story I've just told at the start of this video? Well, in the old Maori tradition, their ancestors were driven out of Peru, which caused them to head to the islands in the Pacific. As I said in my last video, it is believed by some that the Inca defeated and drove out pre-Inca Kilpay culture, and from then on, we don't see the monumental stonework in Peru again. So, where did the Kilpay go? Well, what happened to the early inhabitants of the Cusco region is not a straightforward subject because detailed archaeological studies seem to identify the Kilpay culture as pre-Inca but also part of the Proto-Inca period. They were there before the Inca Empire grew powerful but were also there whilst the empire was developing. As stated, the Kilpay culture is really identified by their pottery, which dominated the Cusco Valley for a long time. Researcher Max Mule categorised the Kilpay pottery as post-Tiwanaku pre-Inca Empire, broadly from 800 to 1400 AD, and was probably a style of pottery making adopted by a number of tribes in the region, tribes that could have all had different origins or could have all hailed from Tiwanaku. radiocarbon dates show that Sacsayhuaman was built before the first king of the first Inca dynasty, Manco Capac, but during a time when Quilcay pottery was dominant. The first dynasty of Inca rule consisted of 5 kings and was known as Urim Cusco, and lasted from around 1200 to 1350 AD, so there was clearly overlap with the Quilcay. Interestingly, the Quilcay pottery seems to leave an archaeological record sometime around the end of the first dynasty, which may indicate that remnants of an older pre-Inca culture either fully assimilated with the Inca or were forced to leave or chose to leave Cusco around this time. Either way, as the Quilcay pottery gradually disappears from the archaeological record, the megalithic stonework of Cusco also stops as well, with all new architecture by the Inca being built in its crude style. So it's certainly possible that the last remaining people of the Quilcay, those that built at Cusco before the Inca arrived, left the Cusco Valley or were driven out by the Inca. So, from the architecture and the pottery, there was a change within the population, but where did this pre-Inca culture go? Well, if the ancient Maori legend is true, then maybe the Quilcay culture could in fact be the ancestors of the New Zealand tribe, leaving Peru and South America and sailing west into the Pacific. As stated, one of the destinations was Easter Island, and this actually is incredibly interesting. Although it was thought to be much earlier, the Rapa Nui settlement of Easter Island is now thought to have originated around 1200 AD. Archaeological studies have said, and I quote, radiocarbon dates the earliest stratigraphic layers of Anakina, Easter Island, and analysis of previous radiocarbon dates imply that the island was colonised late, about 1200 AD. But experts believe that the original settlers did not come from South America, because they came from the west, being Polynesian in origin. In a recent test using rib bones from 5 Easter Island inhabitants from 1445 to 1945, the DNA showed a totally Polynesian origin. But saying that, and 5 individuals is a very small sample size, and further genetic tests have shown that the modern Rapa Nui people actually have a mix of Polynesian, South American and European ancestry. Back in 2014, 27 modern Rapa Nui people were tested for their genetics, and it was found that they inherited around 8% of their DNA from Native Americans, specifically South America. The DNA can be further analysed to give an estimated date of arrival for the South Americans at Easter Island, which was between 1340 and 1445 AD. So, it looks like the Rapa Nui of Easter Island have ancestors from South America in the east and also Polynesians in the west. At Easter Island and the neighbouring Polynesian islands, these two sets of people mixed and intermingled before the Europeans arrived in 1722. How the Peruvians could have reached Easter Island was also shown by the famous Conti expedition when a Norwegian explorer named Thor Heyerdahl used a simple balsa wood raft to travel from South America to the Polynesian islands. It therefore could be achieved in pre-Columbian times. So, genetic studies show that although the majority of Easter Islanders came from Polynesian islands, mainly Hawaii, a number of people also entered from South America between 1340 and 1445 AD. And, as we have seen, the last of the Quilcay culture left or were forced out of the Cusco region at precisely this time. Remember, the name Quilcay refers to the type of pottery found across Cusco from around 800 to 1400 AD, the same time when the megalithic stone walls were built before the Inca Empire was established. The people of the Quilcay culture could have been a number of tribes that came together during this time, but by all accounts, this culture that contained the master megalithic builders left the region. But if the Quilcay culture ended up at Easter Island, then surely we would find some evidence. And well, we may well have that evidence. As we have seen, after the Inca First Dynasty, the megalithic stone wall architecture doesn't continue in the Cusco Valley, being replaced by the more primitive Inca style that is found lying directly on top. Maybe for the Inca, speed was more important than precision for architectural works. Maybe due to the ever-expanding empire. I don't know. Maybe resources went elsewhere. The Inca were also not known for being great builders, but they were great warriors. This can be seen with the crude Inca stonework overlying the far better. It's unlikely that the stone building techniques or technology was simply lost to history, but that those with the knowledge and know-how left the area. And if we look at the stonework that appeared on Easter Island, the large megalithic interlocking stone walls that would not be out of place in the Cusco Valley, well, we can see a possible narrative emerging. The latest thinking by experts in history and archaeology, thanks to recalibrating radiocarbon dates as well as genetics, is that civilization didn't even start on Easter Island until around 1200 AD. And, as we have seen from studying the genetics of modern-day Rapa Nui people, it seems there was a Peruvian influx between 1340 and 1445. This could well be the reason we don't see an evolution of stonework on Easter Island, and why such incredible structures suddenly appear. The main Easter Island archaeological site in question is known as Ahu Vinapu, Ahu being the word for the stone platforms that support the Moai statue on the island. The ceremonial centre of Vinapu has one of the largest Ahu on the island, famous for its incredible masonry, which, as we can see, includes carefully fitted slabs of hard basalt rock, and everybody who has looked at the site can't help but compare it to the Peruvian megalithic sites like Sacsayhuaman. The stone wall also faces towards sunrise at the winter solstice. Giant Moai statues once sat on top, but were torn down in the 18th or 19th centuries. Here we can see the remnants of 6 fallen statues face down. Today there is one seemingly unfinished Moai buried in the earth and quite weathered, with the back wall of the Ahu platform behind it. These Moai are not made of hard igneous rock, but the softer volcanic tuff, hence the level of erosion. The wall has no mortar, there is at least one example of the famous nubs, and it was clearly created with great precision, and we can even see how a block was fitted into a small gap, just like we see in megalithic walls in Peru. There are also other examples of amazing architecture on Easter Island, not to mention the Moai statues themselves. There are also these stones, carefully cut and containing circular holes, used for housing with thatched upturned boats on top. The stonework again is quite incredible, and similar examples of this kind of stonework can be found in Peru. There are many incredible examples of stonework to be seen on Easter Island, but where did they get their technology from? The timeline of the South Americans' arrival at Easter Island and the end of the Quilcay culture in the Inca heartland of Cusco makes me think that the two could well be linked, and because of the incredible stonework on the island, it may imply that the pre-Inca megalithic builders did sail west, taking their knowledge and techniques with them. Interestingly, in Quechan, the language of some of the native groups of the Andes, Cusco means navel of the world. Furthermore, an oral tradition says that Easter Island was also known as Tipito o Tihenua, which also means the navel of the world. Coincidence? Maybe, but maybe not. The tribes of New Zealand that seem to have a Peruvian origin had blonde and red hair, and as we can see from the Moai statues of Easter Island, they have red hair also that is styled in top knots. In fact, you can trace the style of these Moai statues to Peru as well. And I'm not actually talking about the Chachapoya culture, another pre-Inca culture apparently known for having blonde hair and building statues that you could argue are similar to the Moai of Easter Island. But I'm referring to the pre-Inca Empire in the Cusco region, known as the Wari, remnants of which I do believe became part of the Quilcay culture after its collapse. Look at the eyes on this Wari mummy. They do remind me of the eyes of the Moai statues. Look at the headdress or top knot on this Wari ceramic, which we can clearly and directly relate to the Moai. And here's another one. Look at this ceramic and the way the hands are pointed to the navel, just as we see on the Moai. There is also so much more, and you can also relate both cultures to the much earlier Tiwanaku. There is a vast amount of evidence, including the style of art, megalithic construction and genetics, to argue that the pre-Inca Quilque culture, the megalithic stone builders left Peru and even South America sometime after 1350 and sailed west, when the Inca rapidly grew in power. Some of these people reached Easter Island, and maybe because of their knowledge and skills, they established themselves as the elite class over the Polynesians. I don't know, but apparently in history there have been power struggles on the island. So, what I'm claiming is that the enigmatic megalithic stonework that we find across the world, seemingly at different periods of time, is all because of the movement of a people, of a culture. A megalithic folk who took their knowledge, skills and expertise with them. The legend from the Maori tribe of New Zealand seems to have evidence to back it up, and if the Quilque culture, Cusco's megalithic builders, ended up on Easter Island, then we should maybe look back to the legends of New Zealand to find out more about the origins of the megalithic culture. They said that before Peru they were in Mexico, and then before Mexico their ancestors came from the Indus Valley. The Maori oral tradition says that 161 generations ago their ancestors were in a hot country named Iria, which is apparently India. Roughly this would be at around 1500 BC, which apparently was a time of turmoil in the eastern Mediterranean and also India. So, this is where I need to turn my attention to next, to ancient India and the Indus Valley, to see if we can find any evidence of megalithic stone builders, stone nubs on blocks, and blonde or red-headed people that may well be the ancestors of the Quilque and the Rapa Nui. Such finds may well confirm the Maori legend and may help us to understand more about the evolution of megalithic stone builders of the world. Such a study is not simple, linear and straightforward because of the ways that cultures evolved. On Easter Island, the people from Peru would have mixed with the native Polynesians and then formed a new culture. The ancient people from the Indus Valley would have mixed with the native Central and Southern Americans as well. Cultures evolve and change and are influenced by many things, but knowledge can be passed down from generation to generation. I believe that the Quilque culture had a number of influences in the Cusco region, but it is likely that many of these influences can be tied to the ancient site of Tiwanaku. Tiwanaku may well have housed the true ancestors of the Quilque culture and the Rapa Nui, but can we tie Tiwanaku with earlier people from the Indus Valley? That might just be my next research project. Many see the incredible megalithic constructions around the world and see one global civilization that may have lived around 10,000 years ago. It is the most popular interpretation for what we find. But having followed the evidence, it looks as though it is more likely that we could actually be looking at a moving culture, one that moved geographically through time, mainly to escape warfare and maybe moving to survive. Each time they moved, they built magnificent stone structures, prepared the land for farming, and also carried their culture and beliefs with them. Maybe before the Indus Valley, they came from Sumer, and maybe before Sumer, they came from Anatolia. And I'm not just making a wild assumption, because we do have good reason to think that Göbekli Tepe, a pre-10th millennium BC megalithic settlement, could well be the beginning of it all. Maybe there is good reason why the ancient statues of this region have similarities to statues of South America and also the famous Moai of Easter Island. The ancient civilization of Göbekli Tepe may have spread all over the world, and what we're looking at in this video, what I'm calling the megalithic culture, could simply be one branch. Easter Island may well be one of the final destinations of this megalithic culture, the last leg of a journey that spanned half the world and more than 10,000 years of history. Maybe it all began in Anatolia and Göbekli Tepe, and maybe the lost ancient civilization we are all looking for has already been discovered. Maybe they knew that time was coming to an end, and the descendants of the megalithic culture created magnificent moai in honour of their ancestors, a memory of their culture that will surely last forever. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Ancient Architects. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, please like the video, and please leave a comment below. Thank you very much. Hello everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects. Please subscribe now to get the latest ancient history news and independent research around the world. There are a number of famous examples of rock cut architecture in the world, and India is one place in particular that is famous for its caves. There are the famous Ellora caves that date back to 600 to 1000 AD, which includes the breathtaking and seemingly impossible Gyges temple. The Ajanta caves are even older, and there are also the lesser known Kala caves, not always as well known as the others, but a site that should certainly be on your radar. The Kala caves are located near Lonavala, Maharashtra, a complex of ancient Buddhist Indian rock cut caverns dating back from the 2nd century BC to the 5th century AD. Their location is thought to be because of its proximity to a major ancient trading network running eastward from the Arabian Sea into Deccan. They are also situated in a position that marks the division between North and South India. Maharashtra has many larger examples of man-made cave networks, but Cave 8 at Kala, known as the Great or Grand Chatia, is the largest and most completely preserved Chatia hall of the period, with beautiful ornate architecture and featuring many examples of fine sculpture. It truly is a breathtaking piece of work. In this region, the Buddhists of the day were involved in manufacturing and commerce, and so they tended to locate their monastic structures in natural rock formations close to major trade routes so they could provide lodgings for travelling traders. These caves are a convenient and also strategic location. The caves were historically associated with the Mazinaw sect of Buddhism, which was popular in the region 2000 to 1500 years ago, with many wealthy people practicing the religion. There are 16 caves in total at the site, but the main focus is the incredible Great Chatia Cave, or Cave 8, which is the main subject of this video. It is worth noting when looking at the pictures that these caves are carved out of hard volcanic basalt rock, a crystalline rock that is far harder than most types of limestone and sandstone. Work on the cave was done between 50 and 70 AD, and then 120 AD, during the reign of the Western satrap's ruler Nahapana. As stated, the Great Chatia is the largest rock cut chatia in India. Well, even South Asia, measuring 45 metres or 148 feet in length and 14 metres or 46 feet in height, and featuring sculptures of both men and women, as well as animals like lions, tigers, elephants and more. Local merchants, several Yavanas, Buddhist monks and nuns, as well as the ruling elite of the day, provided the funds for its construction, as seen by the dedicatory inscriptions that still survive to this day. One inscription mentions the completion of the cave by a local merchant or banker called Butapala from Vigilanti, which may be referring to when the final ornate sculptures were added, the final phase in decorating this amazing rock cut structure. Cave 8, the Great Chatia Cave of Kala, was the final one to be made in the region, with each cave showing a progression from one to the next, each getting more daring, more ornate and larger. But the Great Chatia is unusually large for the period, and there are still original parts inside that are made of wood, such as various timbers as well as the umbrella over the stupa. In Chatia halls, the ornate ceiling was often made from timber, purely for aesthetic purposes. At the Great Chatia Cave, although some restoration has taken place, many of the original timbers still remain. This diagram shows the interior of the structure and helps us to really see the scale of the incredible stonework that was done. Even outside there was a huge rock-cut pillar known as the Lion Pillar, a huge tower of rock with 16 faces and with 4 lions on top. These would have once supported a chakra or Buddhist wheel. It is likely there was once a pillar on the opposite side as well, but this has likely fallen or been removed to make way for the small Hindu temple that now occupies its position. Aside from the main hall, which really is a breathtaking piece of work, the ornamentation is incredible, with intricately carved verandas, columns, panels and so on. 15 octagonal pillars line the hall on each side, all of them with richly ornamented capitals, with elephants, tigers, horses, human figures and more, as well as inscriptions. The inscriptions generally refer to the donors, those people who paid money to allow the project to take place. The stupa at the end of the hall is a plain dome, a 2-storied circular drum. It does contain holes where wooden parts will have once been affixed, some kind of ornamentation or sculptures. It is surmounted by a capital, and, as stated, the remains of a wooden umbrella still remain to this day. In the Kala Cave complex, there are many other carved chatias as well as viharas, which are the dwelling places of the cave's monks. These caves have arched entrances and vaulted interiors, and, just like the Great Chatia, the names of donors are inscribed on the pillars in bronze script. The Great Chatia has had a lasting legacy. It's not just appreciated today by Buddhist and Indian nationals, but tourists flock from around the world. Even in historic times, the Great Chatia was a flagship for this type of construction, with several other caves that were built later in imitation of this magnificent and important site of worship. The Great Chatia at Canary, situated north of Mumbai, was built a few decades later in imitation of Cave 8 at Kala. It is believed that the plan was a literal copy of the original, but the outcome does show deviation from the Kala style. There is something so wondrous about the cave temples of India. From an engineering perspective, we can't forget that these enormous halls, with their perfect ornamentation, were carved out of volcanic basalt bedrock, an incredibly difficult feat to achieve. Then we have the actual design, which really gives us so much information on the Buddhist tradition and associated cultures of the time. There are also numerous inscriptions that really tell the story, which tell us the names of the people responsible for the structures. We are lucky to have the history of these structures well preserved in stone. I wasn't even planning on diving into Indian history, but the more you start researching, the more incredible things you discover, and the Great Chatia at the Kala Caves really is the tip of the iceberg. I've got so much more to come in the coming weeks, so please subscribe to Ancient Architects for future updates. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Ancient Architects. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, please like the video, and please leave a comment below. Thank you very much. Hello everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects. Please subscribe now to get the latest ancient history news and independent research around the world. In my last video I discussed the bizarre natural wonder known as Krishna's Butterball, a large erratic boulder that balances on a bedrock slope and has sparked the human imagination for centuries. As stated, the boulder is part of Mazinaw UNESCO World Heritage Site, and in this video I'm going to show you the other incredible monuments that led to such an important status being granted. Mazinaw consists of a number of incredible 7th and 8th century rock monuments, which makes it one of the most famous and important sites in India. It was a port city in the Pallava kingdom, and the town was named after the Pallava king Narasimha I, who was also known as Mahabali and Mamala, meaning great wrestler or great warrior. Many of the royal monuments are carved out of the living rock, and include rathas meaning temples in the form of chariots, mandapas or cave sanctuaries, the giant open-air rock relief that is the descent of the Gyges, and the famous shore temple of Shiva. Archaeologically speaking, there are finds at this site going all the way back to the 1st century BC, including Neolithic burial urns, cairn circles and jars. We also find Chinese and Roman coins, the latter belonging to Theodosius I in the 4th century AD. But this region really gained major importance in the 7th century thanks to the exquisite architecture of the Pallava dynasty. It was an important strategic location, a port to launch trade and diplomatic missions to Sri Lanka and Southeastern Asia. An 8th century Tamil text describes it as a sea mountain where the ships rode at anchor, bent to the point of breaking, laden with wealth, big-trunked elephants, and gems of 9 varieties and deeps. The temples at this site are nothing short of amazing. They portray the events described in the Mahabharata, one of the 2 major Sanskrit epics of ancient India. They were all built during the reigns of King Narasimha and his successor Rajasimha, also known as Rajasimha, and show a general progression from amazing monumental rock architecture ending up in a standard structural building, but still just as beautiful. The mandapa and rathas are shaped from hard granite rock faces, whilst the shore temple of Shiva was erected half a century later and is built from dressed stone. The actual achievements in stone are breathtaking, but it's the iconography depicted, the detail and the fine carvings, as well as the meaning behind it that really makes Mazinaw an important site of ancient India. Marco Polo and other European merchants called the region the site of 7 pagodas, and legend says that the famous shore temple, one of the oldest stone temples in South India, was actually one of 7. The other 6 could well be lost in the now submerged coastline, and this is well and true, because of the appearance of the outlines of more temples off the coast as seen during the 2004 tsunami. The tsunami exposed an incredible collapsed temple that was built entirely of granite blocks, as well as ancient rock-cut sculptures of lions, elephants and peacocks, which would have decorated walls and temples in the 7th and 8th centuries.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate it very much for watching. Thank you.
The remaining shore temple and its surrounding garden, and the water level returned to normal inside a few minutes. The temple was hard granite foundations, and that is one of the reasons why it could sustain the weight of the tsunami. This temple likely acted as a landmark for navigation for European merchants, and because the shore temple looks like a pagoda, the name 7 pagodas stuck. The original name of this specific site is Jalashayana, meaning lie in water. It was built by Rajasimha and was the culmination of architectural creations at Mazinaw Rock. Work continued by the Cholas, who ruled Tamil Nadu after defeating the Pallamas. The older rock cut monument that is known as the descent of the Gyges really is a breathtaking piece of work. It measures 98 by 49 feet.
Thank you for watching.